Hello Synthetics, welcome to Fragrance Therapy. I'm your host Alam. I want to apologize in advance for the voice. I've been under the weather, but we got to keep on going, so let's get into it. So this fall has been crazy with Middle Eastern fragrance releases. With Beauty World Dubai and the rush to get all these new releases out before the holiday season, it's been like relentless. And with that madness has come some amazing releases. But look, not everything has been great. There are some fragrances that I thought were complete misses. I did a video on that, so I'll link it on the screen. But at least on this list, we get to focus on the good stuff. So I'm going to go over the 10 best recent cheapy releases. So with all that out of the way, let's jump in. So first up, we're going to go with Magnetic. And this is an amazing release from French Avenue and Aromatics. This is going to remind you of fragrances like Homage Reflection Man, those style of fragrances. But this one has a bit of a citrusy twist. Both are definitely aromatic, woody, and powdery. Tons of crossover if you compare the notes. But this one does have that citrus opening that will remind you of something like YSL Myself. But I would say Reflection Man is more resinous, whereas this one is a little bit more citrusy, like I mentioned. Good performance right out of the box, 7 to 8 hours, strong projection for that first hour or so. I would say you could use this most of the year, especially a great office scent, but I would avoid it in the really cold weather. I tried to wear this to the office the other day, and it's been really cold where I live, and it just didn't work. But warm weather, even transitional weather, for the office, this is going to be a banger. If you like fragrances that make you smell fresh, they make you smell clean, and super well put together, this is definitely for you. Next up, we have French Avenue's Vulcan Black Friday edition, and this is supposed to be a clone of Xerjoff's Tony Iommi Deified. Now, I've never smelled that fragrance, but from everything I've heard online, it gets pretty close. This is primarily like a leathery, rosy, and fruity fragrance that dries into this earthy, woody side. You also get saffron and spices with this light green apple note. The opening gives it a slight gourmand and warm feel. And for those who are not familiar with the note of saffron, it gives it like a little bit of a spicy metallic undertone. It can be a divisive note. I personally grew up with that smell in our cooking and stuff, so I absolutely love it. Then that rose and leather really kick in. And I love myself a good leather note, especially when it's done this way. It's smooth style of leather. It's not animalic or overly dark. The leather note is accompanied by that strong rose note. I have grown to love rose a lot more, and some of my favorite fragrance releases of this year have rose in it. Also good depth with some woody and earthy bases. It's definitely dark and masculine leaning fragrance. And in my opinion, this is not as mass appealing as some of the other Vulcan fragrances. If you don't like leather or you don't like rose, you should probably stay away. But if you're into those notes, this is a killer. Strictly a fall and winter fragrance, good longevity, about 8 hours right out of the box, and actually improved even since I got it. When I first got it, I was getting maybe 7. When I was doing testing for this video, I was already getting 8. Good projection, but not a room filler. Excellent release, but maybe the most divisive one on the list. Next up, we have Riiffs Seasons Rise, and this is a combination of Stronger With You Intensely, but mostly Stronger With You Parfum. This is warm, it's sweet, it's spicy. It combines the best parts of Parfum and Intensely in my opinion. You get fresh and spicy orange blossom, pink pepper, and nutmeg. Sweet gourmands with caramel and toffee with a touch of cinnamon. And then you also get that additional creaminess with vanilla bean and this sweet and nutty praline. You still get that deep chestnutty vibe that you get with Stronger With You Parfum. It's not listed in the notes, but you can definitely still pick it up. My initial knock on this when I first got it, it didn't live up to the performance of the originals, but just like the last one, this has improved since I've gotten it. In my last testing, I got about 8 hours of longevity, strong projection for that first hour, but then it does settle into moderate projector. Listen, I don't know why Freeze and Season Drift, the blue one, got all the hype. They don't hold a candle to this one, and I think this is the one that should have gotten all the love. Next up, we have Armaf's newest Club de Nuit, and that's Bling. And let me tell you something. These designer brands need to beware, because not only are these fragrance brands from the Middle East making amazing dupes, but they are also getting into the original creation game, and they're knocking it out of the park. And with the designer prices going through the roof, if these Middle Eastern brands can just keep their prices down and still be creative like this, I think they're going to be more and more attractive to people who just can't afford these crazy prices anymore. I know the name is really, really cheesy, but trust me, the bottle looks amazing. And the reason they named it that way was because they did it as a collab with some Emirati celebrity. And look, don't even bother looking up the notes because they're equally as cheesy. You get things like flower prism and stardust as notes. This is what you need to know. You get this bright and energetic opening with citruses and fruits. I get grapefruit and like unripe mango. There's also this slight mintiness in the background, but it's not too overpowering and strong like something like Torino 21. The opening might not be for everyone because it might come off a little bit too sharp and a little bit too tangy for others, but people who like bold openings will love this thing. In the mid, you get some white florals. In the dry down is primarily this creamy vanilla, but you also get something they call velvet woods. Might be something like sandalwood because there is a creaminess to there. And the dry down comes off actually quite lovely. Excellent performance right out of the box. That's what you would expect with these Club de Nuit fragrances nowadays. 8-hour range with solid projection for the first couple of hours. That bright and fresh opening probably makes it best for the warmer weathers, but it has enough depth that you can probably rock this year round. Maybe just avoiding like the dead of winter. This is also one I think that you can easily dress up or dress down. It's very versatile. Look, so many people were so tired of Club de Nuit just doing another Intense Man, which is of course a different version of Creed Aventus. But when they tried to do something different, I think this thing got bashed to hell. I for one like that they tried something different. I don't get it, people. I say embrace originality. Once you get through that opening or you get used to it, you'll really start enjoying this, in my opinion. I think they did a banger release with this one. Next up, we have Rayhaan's Obsidian. And when I first reviewed this, I said that this was a darn good clone of Dior Homme Parfum from 2014. But many people have now said that this is a mix of the 2014 DNA in the opening and dries down more to the new formulation. I have not smelt the new version, so I can't tell you if that's accurate. But I still do get a pretty healthy dose of that 2014 DNA. And I think they did an excellent job with this release. If you know that DNA, you know this is extremely bold and it's a classy fragrance. Of course, you get that heavy lipsticky iris, but that's combined with smooth leather and woods. You also get this good dose of floral and musky undertones. This thing smells just like money in a bottle. This thing has been a little bit of a letdown when it comes to performance in my testing. Maybe it needs to mature a little bit longer, but longevity, I'm only getting about 7-ish hours. Good projection, but not a beast mode. That's a bit of a surprise because usually Rayhaan makes beast performers. Again, not a horrible performer, but not up to typical Rayhaan standards. And despite that, Rayhaan continues to deliver banger after banger this year. They might be one of the most improved houses in recent memory. Next up, we have Kodlaj's Shiaka Snow. And this is an excellent fragrance inspired by Louis Vuitton's Meteor. This is a sparkling and slightly spicy freshie. It gives you this bright and cool opening with this earthy dry down. Tons and tons of refreshing citruses along with these fresh spices with pink pepper and nutmeg. Also good dose of neroli, which gives it that clean soapiness vibe. And surprising depth when it dries down. You get this base of cardamom and vetiver. It gives it this woody and earthy facet that helps balance it out. And performance is good for a freshie. I'm talking about 7 hours of longevity on skin. Moderate projection, not overpowering, but this is another one I think like Magnetic is solid for the office, especially in the warmer months. Look, it leans masculine, but ladies who like fresh, clean fragrances can definitely pull this off. Honestly, the OG is way too expensive for what you get. Does it smell good? Of course it smells good, but it is a simple scent profile. This thing is much, much better value at 40 bucks, and you get almost the same thing. Next up, we have Lattafa's Asad Elixir. And Asad Elixir is inspired by Hugo Boss Bottled Absolute. And when I say inspired by, I really mean it. It is not a one-to-one. For sure, there are similarities. For me, though, this is much more of a twist on that DNA. With this, you get a bright, sharp, and spicy opening with pink pepper, saffron, and grapefruit. This is where you get that biggest difference between this and Boss Bottled Absolute. The OG is much darker and smokier in the opening. There is a distinct smoky incense and leather in the OG that you just won't pick up in this one. As it dries, they do get much closer. The darker notes start to kick in. You get some smoky tobacco and cedar. Also this resinous base with frankincense and this earthy patchouli. Though the patchouli note I think is much more prominent in the OG when you compare it to this one. As you would expect with the Asad fragrance, great performer. I'm talking about 8 hours of longevity, strong projection for the first couple of hours, but not quite as strong as Boss Bottled Absolute. Fall and winter fragrance, you can also use this to dress up for a formal event or a special occasion. The OG was not the easiest to wear. It had some niche qualities to it, maybe too dark and too strong in the opening for some people. If you want a more mass appealing take on that DNA, this is an excellent choice. Next up is another Aromatics release, and that's Sun-Kissed. And this is my favorite of the new releases that Aromatics put out this year. This one kind of took me by surprise. I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I did. This is a super duper fresh and bright scent that I can't wait to rock in the warmer weather. It opens with this burst of tart, juicy citrus from pomelo, bergamot, and bitter orange. And it's a strong opening, but it's also a unique one. I've never quite smelled that combination of citruses, and it smells amazing. And in the mid is where I think this thing really differentiates itself, because you get this sparkling and creamy soda accord. I think it smells something like if you take a Sprite and you put like a scoop of vanilla ice cream. And also some of my other favorite notes, you're getting tea and cardamom. The base is warm and smooth with this creamy vanilla, soft muskiness from amber tonic, and this earthy woodiness from vetiver, cedarwood, and cashmere. Good solid performance for a freshie. I'm talking about 7 hours of longevity with that strong projection, especially in that first opening hour. All these new releases are extrait de parfums. I wouldn't be surprised that in the summertime, by the time I get around to using this, we see a big improvement in performance. This does lean a little bit masculine, but I don't think by much. I think women can comfortably pull this off as well. I love what Nuit has done with, especially with these recent releases. Super powerful fragrances that are not one-to-one takes on anything. They're his own original creations, and you can see the love in these bottles. Honestly, the next two I love equally. Think of them as 1B and 1A. But let's start off with Swiss Arabian's Enigma of Taif. And this is the newest release from Swiss Arabian Cities collection. That line consists of all niche quality original creations. And if you haven't checked that line out, you're missing out, because these are some incredible fragrances. I have the entire line back there. As the name would suggest, the main attraction here is this unique and very expensive smelling Taif rose. But this is not a one-dimensional rose fragrance, because this fragrance takes that Taif rose and wraps it in spices and this rich base. Tons of spices, resins, plum in the opening. But that main attraction really kicks in with florals. You get Taif rose, violet, and osmanthus in the mid. As it dries, it does get a lot more smoky and earthy, along with this deep dark sweetness and this deep resinous base. Exceptional performance out of this one. Already 10 plus hours of longevity. Strong projection for the first couple of hours. Don't take that rose and think this is a feminine fragrance. Due to some of those darker notes, I think it's completely unisex. This one my mom and wife loved just as much as my dad and I did. I mean, look at the dent that I've already put in this one. This thing is amazing. People, give Swiss Arabian a try. They're the most slept on house from the Middle East. So finally, we have Rayhaan Terra, and this is a twist on the Homage Outlands DNA. And this one is definitely a twist, not a one-to-one take. There are tons of crossovers between this and the OG, but there are some differences too. You're going to get many of the same spices and resins, same sweet and creamy base with amber and vanilla, but this one tones down some of those spices and makes it way less incensey. And on the flip side, it amps up that creamy sweetness. This comes off far less dense and heavy, and it makes it much easier to wear and also much more mass appealing. Performance has also been amazing right out of the box. I'm getting 8 to 9 hours of longevity, strong projection for the first 2 hours. I still don't think this is blind buy safe, but is way more blind buy safe than the OG. But if you're not a fan of spicy and ambery fragrances, this is not going to change your mind. I still love the OG, but I would only reserve that for really special occasions. This one is still for like dressed up occasions, but it's more versatile. Just in the last couple of weeks, I rocked this at a nice sit down restaurant as well as at the office, especially in like a meeting setting. No, this does not replace the original, but I think you can, because they kind of fulfill two different needs, you can use them in tandem. So there you have it, folks. 10 of my favorite recent clone releases from this fall. And I think 2025 has been a landmark year for these affordable Middle Eastern brands. Their quality keeps getting better and better, and the prices have gone up a little bit, but not crazy like designers. And I'm going to start compiling my end of the year list, and you'll definitely see some of these show up on there. Also, please hit that like and subscribe button. Really helps the channel out a lot. We want to keep growing and keep bringing content like this. And as always, stay tuned for more affordable fragrance content. Until next time, I'm out.